cold weather. Okay, it's not really that cold, but it's autumnal. It's getting there. Good morning, Tina, from a very grey Warrington. Yep, it's a grey Hampshire here too as well. Squiggly, snuffly noises from a baby whinny in the background. She's poorly today. Poor little thing. And just a little black splodge of Eric there in the corner. Good morning, Lucky Fairy Queen. Good morning, good morning. What have we got coming up? We've got stuff coming up, so let's do that first. I'll get the calendar up and then I can actually have the dates. That would be jolly exciting of me, wouldn't it? So there is no chat next week, but I will be back on 31st of October. So Wayne, but nothing next week.
What else is 31st of October?
What else is 31st of October? Halloween.
And what else?
Might be my birthday.
Well, it might be.
Next week, next Tuesday, 21st, 10 a.m, the girls and I will be doing a live to reveal our secret project. Yeah, that's 10 o'clock, 21st, next Tuesday. It'll be recorded, but we will be revealing. What else have we got? There's something else in November, and I'll find it in a minute. Winter Ritual, 29th of November. That's it. We've got an online Winter Ritual on the 29th of November. I knew there was something else. But keep an eye out on the website for all the details, obviously. With February as well, we have an online ritual, which is online retreat. Join myself and the girls between 10 and 4 for shenanigans. That's a Zoom thingy. Good morning, Emma. Very dark here and cold in Bedfordshire. Yeah, it is. It does feel a bit colder today, actually. Good morning, Claire. Good morning, Susie. Good morning, Lisa. Good morning, Angela. Good morning, Susan. Good morning, Kerry and Ebony. Good morning, Amanda. Good morning, Sue. October. I love October. Do love October. Actually, I love October, November, December. My favourite months. So I thought today's subject, last week, if you have a look at the Pagan Portal podcast from last week, myself and 3 other witches, Lucia Starzer, Jessica Howard and Katie Ness, we got together to record a podcast all about Samhain. It is over on the Moon Books Publishing YouTube channel and Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts from, Apple, wherever it might be. Oh, hello. You're awake, are we? We recorded a podcast all about Samhain, how we work with it, how we tie it in with Halloween, but we also talked about ancestors, so I thought that would make a very good subject for today. Good morning, David. Just starting breakfast now. I've fed the spirits. Got to look after the spirits. Good morning, Steve. Tina, all exciting, happy events. Do you really like your statement? It's a brooch. It's a little brooch. I have quite a large collection of brooches. I do like a brooch. It's my flashback to the 80s. Yes, I do collect them. We'll just wait for the portable doorbell to stop barking. He's a ferocious beast. Good morning, Emily. Virtually feels like winter. Yeah, it is. It's heading that way, isn't it? It does feel colder today. Have you finished now? Now we have to move the blanket because he won't sit in the chair. The blanket's in the way. Now we have to tuck him in. You better now? Yes. Better now. Who needs a doorbell, hey? So that's today's theme, ancestors. Do you work with your ancestors? How do you work with your ancestors? What or who do you class as your ancestors? Do you find working with them at this time of the year easier? Lots of questions all about the ancestors. Good evening, Sephora. Angela, sounds like our house when someone rings the bell and Ollie dog goes manic. Yeah, every time. Someone just has to walk past the front of the house and he barks at them. It is all good this morning, yes. We have a dog. We have a baby here. It's fun and games. Never boring in our house. So ancestors. Now I have some things to show you. I do set up an ancestor altar at this time of the year. A lot of the time I keep it out all year round. But where we've had a few changes, I'd taken them all down. So I'm going to put them all back up today. So I have an ancestors altar. I put on it a couple of bits and pieces. I've got a brooch that was my grandmother's. I've got the RAF badge from my great uncle's hat. Various bits and pieces that are linked to family members who have passed. But I have my photos. So I don't know whether you'll be able to see some of these, but there we go. Those are my maternal grandparents. Fab picky, actually. Winnie looks like my maternal grandmother. You see, that's my maternal grandfather and great grandparents. My maternal grandfather was in the army. He was on D-Day landings. That's his family again. I think that's his parents and his brother and his brother's wife. All old sepia photos. Look like my grandmother. My daughter looks more like my grandmother, actually. Sephora, as the family genealogist ancestors are making. That's what I want to talk about too. Ancestors, do they have to be bloodline? What if you don't know your bloodline? Can you still work with ancestors? That's another question. Good morning, Cliff. Let's see that one. This is my grandmother and her cousin. These are such cool photos. So here's my paternal grandparents at their wedding. Very, very grainy pickies. We got several here. That is my father's family, grandparents and great-grandparents. All very cool photos. I saved the best one till last. Look at these. Look at that hat. I have total hat. I would wear that coat now. I think it's a fantastic coat, but brilliant hat. And the moustache, of course, this side. The moustache. You know how much I love a moustache. So they'll all be going up to set up my ancestors' altar today. I'll probably keep them up for the rest, all the time anyway. But that's my family ancestors. I have had one of those DNA test thingies done. I was 45% English, 5%, something like that, Scandinavian, and the other big chunk was European, covering Germany, Holland and France. That's also my ancestors. That is my ancestry. I connect with them all the time, probably more so this time of the year because I do set up the ancestors altar, but they're always there. But if you don't know your genealogy, can you still connect with ancestors? Do you still connect with ancestors? My answer is yes, absolutely. You don't have to know names. You don't have to have a chart with all of the lines on to connect with your ancestors. But I'd love to know what your experiences are. Let's get some of these up. Angela, I haven't worked with ancestors since I've come back to the craft, but they seem to visit this time of the year and around certain dates anyhow. Yes, I think if they want to, they will anyway, won't they? They are very precious photos, Lisa. And Sephora, yes, these are actually digital copies. My mum has the originals, and we do have them stored in the sky as well. Yes, definitely. The Edwardians did great clothes. They did. I would definitely wear that coat. I think it's fabulous. And he's got the waxed moustache. I do love it. Smart. Everyone was smart. Love it. Claire. I once had a reading and was given messages from ancestors way back, many generations back. They come through. They come through if they want to. Steve, at this time of the year, I put my craft lineage ancestors on my altar. Now there's a different take. I hadn't thought about that. That's an interesting take on it too. Brilliant. Emma, we lost most of our original photos, but I had them saved digitally. Very wise. So I have a digital photo frame on my ancestors' altar. Nice. Yeah, my mum's got all the originals, but I scanned them all in just to be safe. Do they come through stronger at this time of the year, more easily this time of the year? I have a bit of thing. Yeah, I've got lots of bits of things. I think if you are trained in spirit work, and I think if you are going to work with the other side, you do need to have training. And I mean from a psychic mediumship point of view. You can connect with that world at any time. Doesn't need to be a specific time of the year. Is the veil thinner at this time of the year? Yes. And it will be no matter what hemisphere you're in. This time of the year, opposites, all the veil is thinner. I think they find it easier to come through. I think perhaps people think about their ancestors more this time of the year, and it makes the connection stronger as well. I don't know what your thoughts are. Susie, lacking space, they live in a caravan. Any suggestions for altars that aren't large and possibly mobile? Phone screen, laptop screen. Make a Pinterest, make a screensaver with your ancestors on. And as Emma said, one of the digital photo frames, you can have lots of pictures on that, and they move, don't they? Bit Harry Potter. Excellent. Yeah, I would put them on my phone screen or on my laptop screen. I don't have a laptop, but you know what I mean. I have a big old computer. Yeah, I would use technology to your advantage for that. Zephora. I visited my great-great-grandmother's grave the first time a fortnight ago. I was weeding her grave when I found a small white pebble which I've kept, and then another one was on the surface, a gift. Nice. Things like that can go on your ancestors' altar too, or your altar in general. I say I've got a few pieces of jewellery that belonged to my grandparents and my great uncle that I put. Actually, they're in my back to front. They're in my journey bag. They're in here because when I hedge ride, I go to the other world. So it makes sense for me to have a couple of items of my ancestors in my journey bag. Archie Fairy Queen, it's easier to connect with them this time of the year. I think generally, yes. Zephora. No other white stones found or in the dirt, so it was a bit woo-woo. That seems to be one of the phrases at the moment, doesn't it? Woo-woo. Yeah, definitely a gift. Susie, yes, I think, use technology to your advantage. You can fit a lot of photos on your phone's screensaver, on your desktop screen. You can have the Windows does the moving photos, so you can have a whole load of them as well. Use technology for magic, definitely. Emma, I was trained by a psychic medium and fellow witch in Bedford. First thing she taught us was protection and shielding. Yes, I had training with a local psychic medium, and protection is definitely a big part of it. You have to know how to deal with situations. You have to know how to shut yourself off from the spirit world, because otherwise they will be incredibly noisy and incredibly persistent. Yes, absolutely. Claire, yes, that's another good idea. You can set up an altar on a tray. Put all your stuff on the tray, and then it can go in a cupboard out the way. You can shut the doors, then you can bring it out again. That works really well. A bowl, they work really, really well. An altar bowl, so a fruit bowl basically, and then you can put all bits and pieces in it that you would normally put on your altar. Bit difficult to put, candles to light and things, but you can put representations of things in the bowl and keep that on your table or your sideboard. Works very well. Emily, I believe it's a Jewish tradition to place little pebbles visited and still remembers. Oh, that I like that idea. Very nice idea. David, I have an ancestors' altar in the corner next to the hearth. It has at the top 4 gods that overlook my ancestors: Odin, Aram, Aran, Blodeuweth. I apologise for my pronunciation. And in centre stage, as she should be, the Kalach. I talk to my family, but I don't really work with them. Yes, I know what you mean. I let them get on with their journeys, but they are always in my mind. I also have a poppet made for those old witches who walked the path before me, and without we would be lost to who we are, if you know what I mean. Yes, I do. Which brings me to another point. Yes, I think, as always, David, very wise, it's not about summoning them, is it? It's not about doing a seance or, calling in the spirits. It's just knowing that they're there and honouring that they went before us, and that they're there watching, supporting, whatever. Yes, I like that. Now, you will see take my watch off. Some of us have this. Going that way. Crossed broomsticks. Myself, Ness and Heather have them. They were done by Susie Edwards, the Ink Witch. They are to recognise and remember those witches that went before us, specifically those that were put to death and accused of being witches. Now, to be fair, a huge amount of the people that were put to death or tortured or incarcerated, accused of being witches, weren't actually witches. But the crossed broomsticks, is a sign to remember them. And actually, when we had them done, Susie sings a chant that goes along with it. It's quite a ritual tattoo. But when we had them done, we looked up the witch trials in England to see if anyone kind of caught our attention. And there was a lady from Norfolk, which is my paternal family lineage home, with the same name as my grandmother. I mean, obviously it wasn't my grandmother, but that kind of jumped out at me. That was quite freaky that connection was there. So she is the one that I specifically honour with the tattoo. It is about remembering, I think, isn't it, as well? It is just those folk knowing that we still think of them. Absolutely. Lucky Fairy Queen, we actually have a practice of ritual offering to our close ancestors this time of the year, so I bet that helps with the connection too as we think about them. That's what it's all about, isn't it? It is about just remembering them. Particularly, I think, for me, and I know Pete's the same, because Pete's got connections with his stepfather was on the Lancaster bombers in the Second World War. My grandmother was in the NAFI. My grandfather, as I say, was on the D-Day landings. Those generations that went before us did what they did so that we could live the life that we live now. And I think that is incredibly important to remember what those people did, the sacrifices that were made, so that we can live the life that we can now. And I think for me, that's really important as well. To remember what happened and what they did for us. Yeah, absolutely. That's Zephora. I got a tap on the shoulder as I was about to leave and remembered great-grandfather also there, so back to the sextons and found him. Discovered empty grave also owned, which none of us knew about. I think it's fascinating, isn't it, when you start digging into it all. But I think as well it's important to say, even if you don't know who your parents were or your grandparents or any of that going back. It doesn't matter. You can still honour them. You can still honour your ancestors. You can still connect with your ancestors. It's just knowing that they're there. You don't need to know their names. You don't need to know where they were born, where they lived, what involvement they had. It is just ancestors generally. And I also think ancestors as a general thing, ancestors of the land, those that went before us where we're living now, ancestors of land carries energy with it as well. And I think that's important to connect with as well. They can get rowdy at times if you don't turn yourself off. Yes. It was crazy when I was little and could see others couldn't. Got to laugh at my younger self and how I dealt with it. Well, children, I think when we're younger, we don't have any preconceptions, do we? So our daughter used to see someone in the house quite often when she was a toddler. I worked out it was my grandfather, the one that was in that photo with the army hat on. I worked out it was him, just looking after her. But she could see him. And to her, it was no, there's a man standing in the doorway. She didn't have any idea that she wasn't supposed to see people. She grew out of it, as a lot of children do. But yeah, and the animals too, they pick up on stuff as well, don't they? Air house is quite busy. It's busy with ancestors, but it's busy because it's on a thoroughfare through from the harbour up to London. So we get all sorts, Romans, the whole lot. It's busy. But yes, if you're not careful and you don't know how to switch it off, it can be very overwhelming. That did happen to me right at the beginning when I was doing my mediumship training. It was quite a lot. Jalala, don't connect to past blood family, but whilst working with the trees over recent years, I've come to understand how we're all connected, how we're made from all ancestors, human or otherwise. Yes, I think it is important to remember that we are all connected, and that, as I say, ancestors of the land, not just human beings with names and family trees. It is about ancestors of everything, really. Cliff, find it easy relating to the ancient ancestors, but when it comes to family, especially grandparents who were staunch Catholics, I feel they would disagree with the path I now follow. Yes. Yeah. Although there are similarities between the Catholic faith and what we do, incense, candles, that whole shebang. But yes. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a particularly religious family. My grandparents weren't particularly religious. My paternal grandmother was spiritualist. I didn't know until after she'd passed. That would have been useful. So yeah, I haven't come across that, but that kind of makes sense. I don't know. Do the spirit world, do they take their faith with them? I've never had any feeling of that. I've never had any issues when I've been working with spirit. Interesting. Steve, I have a dumb supper. Yes, that's how I have my ancestors to honour them. Very, very interesting thing to do. Ness did write a blog on the dumb supper, which is on the Kitchen Witch blogs if anybody wants to have a look at the whole process. But a very nice idea. Essentially, you lay a place at the table. We lay the whole table for dinner, and you lay one place for those that have passed over that no one sits in. Everyone comes in to the dinner without speaking. It's a dumb supper, so no one speaks. And it is a way of honouring those that have passed before you, especially when you can't speak the whole time. It's a struggle. No, it's lovely because it does give you that peaceful, quiet time to enjoy your meal, but to also think about those that have passed before you, to have the memories, to relive favourite things in your own head. It is a way of honouring them, yeah. Susie's in Norfolk Glass. Yes, my father's side of the family, we're from Surrey generally, but going back a few generations, we were apparently very wealthy landowners in Norfolk. There you go. didn't inherit any of it. Good morning, Monique. Emma, I always have a poppet on my ancestors' altar for my great uncle Len, who died in one of the wars, and for my great grandma, who worked sewing material for the airships. Fantastic. I think it's important to remember everyone as well, isn't it? Particularly those that were in the wars. From we perhaps go straight to those that were in the army, the navy, whatever, those that were fighting, but all the women that were left behind did a huge amount of work keeping the country running, basically, and making a huge amount of stuff for the war effort. I say my nan was in the NAFI, but she also worked in one of the factories. Everyone did their bit, didn't they? Emily, lovely synchronicity that Remembrance Day is also around this time of the year. Yes, that is very important as well. Definitely very important. We need to remember, need to pass on the history to our children and onto their children and onwards. Very important. Zephora. Our lot travelled halfway around the world to fight in World War One and Two, and with great loss, particularly at Gallipoli and the Somme, so remembered and honoured here. Yes, absolutely. Everyone was affected, weren't they? All families were affected by it. Definitely something to remember. David, know what you mean. There are family who, though you might love them and they would not approve. So how do you work with them? Like having a family meeting, I guess. I suppose we just don't talk about religion or politics. Yes, although my family quite like a bit of politics. Yeah, they get a good argument going with that. Never religion, really, because I am the only religious one in the entire family. So that one's easy. But yeah, I guess it does depend on whether you call on your ancestors to talk with them, or whether you just want to remember them, to know that their energy is there. If it is just, as this time of the year should be, I think, remembering them, honouring them, those that have gone before you, then yeah, you don't have to have conversations with them. It's just about, I know you're there, thank you for being there, kind of thing. Good morning, Iris. Emily, my partner and I are planning a trip to another city in the next few weeks to find a big gravestone that lists a big group of my Victorian ancestors buried there. Never done anything like that before. Brilliant. Fantastic. Love a good graveyard. I love a good graveyard. Interestingly, when we did the big house renovation here, the ceiling that was above me where I'm sitting now, the whole ceiling had to come down. And the house was built in 1910. So that was a lot of rubbish that came down. But as the ceiling came down, a couple of photos came down too, which was fascinating. They'd obviously fallen through the floorboards of the bedroom above, and they were from when the house was built, pretty much, not much longer after that. I managed to trace one of the photos back to a photographer in Portsmouth, and that was brilliant. I don't know who these people are, but there's a photo of a mother and two children. So we've kept that because for me, that is a way of honouring the ancestors that lived in our house, the memory of those that were here living in the house that we live in now. There was a postcard as well from the 1920s, which was fab as well. Really interesting though. We've kept hold of those. We actually had, when the house, just shortly after the house renovation, we had the history of the house done, which was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Brilliant lady did it all for us and traced it right back to when it was built. It's where we discovered that the house had a name. We are terraced and they're all built around the same sort of time, and a lot of the houses have got names above the front door. We assumed theirs had a name from some point, but didn't know what it was. This lady managed to find the name of our house as well, which was brilliant because we put the name back above the house and the energy felt right. The house kind of felt like the house went, thank you, have my identity back. That was really special. But to find out all the different people, mostly Navy families, because we're in a Navy area. That was really interesting to find the names and the occupations of the people that had lived in our house before. That to me was really important. It kind of made a stronger connection with the house because we now know the ancestry, if you want, of our home, which is brilliant, fascinating information. Susie, my grandmother was a mechanic in the war. Might put a socket wrench on my altar. But yes, perfect. It's representation, isn't it? It is things that make that connection as an honouring. Sephora, I suspect witchy lot were ancestors from Cornwall, but I'm mostly a mutt, so we'll never know, as I've got snippets from each country that makes up the UK. It's interesting, isn't it? The DNA kit things are really fascinating to do. I had a tiny, like 1% of Scottish, I think, in mine as well. But I am a big old chunk of English, which was nice because I am very proud. I'm very proud to be English. I am an English witch, and it is my mission to resurrect all of the English deities. I'm working on it very slowly, but I'm working on it. We need to take our place beside the Irish and the Welsh and the Scottish. The English deities need to take their stand, absolutely. Emma, I've never had my elderly Aunt Florrie come to me, maybe because she was a faithful Methodist. Something to think about. It is, and it's also important to know that not everyone stays in the realm. Some folk just disappear. My maternal grandmother, she gone, never been back to off doing other things, definitely. So not everyone will be able to or will want to come back in the spirit world for whatever reason. But it's also important to note that a lot of church folk work with spirit healing, or that kind of thing. So, no. But who knows? It is one of those things that we don't know, is it? Zephora should be able to look up the 9/11 census and maybe see who those people in the photo were. With the lady that did all of our house genealogy did look for us, and we did trace it back to a photographer in Portsmouth. But there's no actual name on the photograph. There are, families that lived here. Could be them. We don't know. We don't know for sure. But we've got a lot of information. She did all sorts of deep dive into stuff. It was fascinating. David, found myself being drawn to the local cemetery and graveyard just to recognise them. I have no connection to anyone there, but I now live in the land they grew up and died in. Yes, seems only neighbourly. Think I'll leave an offering of food and a glass of drink by the gates for them this Samhain. Yes, it is. I mean, I waffle on about connection to the land all of the time. And I think it's super, super important. But yes, that's why I make the connection with those that lived in the house that I live in now, because there were quite a few different families before us. I mean, we've lived here for 30 years, but there were lots of families here before us, and I think it's important to make that connection. The lady that was in the house before we bought it died here, so her energy is here as well. Yeah, I think it's really important, but I think that's a really nice idea. To recognise those in the area that you live in. Hampshire isn't my home city from a genealogy point of view, although I have been here 30 odd years. But yeah, it makes it different, I think. And yeah, neighbourly, I like that. Good morning, Alison from a grey Basingstoke. Yeah, it's grey Hampshire too. Susie, if they disappear, so to say, is it then wrong to call on them after they've passed? No, you can call on them, they just won't come. Because they're not there. It's you can call on them, you can call on anyone you want to, really, but spirit's a bit like deity. You can call on them, you can invite them in, but if they don't want to come, they're not going to. So if they're not actually still around, they're not going to hear you anyway. So no, it's not wrong, because you won't know unless you try. Just mind your manners, as always, I think. Tina, I think my ancestors would be very varied and wide. African, Russian, Jews, Scottish and English, all within 4 generations. Hey, we're all, aren't we? We're all a bit of a pick and mix. Definitely. I think it's interesting when you do the DNA things. I think we've all got quite a mixture. I was prompted to do mine because our son did it, and he would quite unusually, he just had 2. 75% English, 25% Scandinavian. That was it. The end. Which he was very pleased about, because he's kind of, he's very patriotic, but also loves Vikings. So I think we're all a bit of something, aren't we? It must be very, very rare, I think, to find someone that is 100% one thing. We're all a bit pick and mix. Particularly, I guess, in England, where we've been invaded so many times. Sephora, does anyone else here have Shetland, also known as Viking heritage, and connected to it? Shetland is an island in Scotland. I do have Viking heritage because I have Scandinavian, a little bit of Scandinavian. I've never worked with the Norse deities. I know they're there. Never really been drawn to them. Probably now, because these days I'm so focused on the English stuff. But Scandinavian is fascinating to look into, absolutely. Emma, this year plan to honour those who are missing, those found deceased and those with no names. That is a very nice idea. Just like to remember them when someone else can't because they don't know. Does that make sense? That is a fabulous idea, Emma. There must be an awful lot of folk that don't get remembered. Particularly those, I guess, that have no family anymore. Yeah, that's a brilliant idea, Emma. That is a very, very nice idea. Tina, that's without doing the DNA test. Yeah, I think it's, I say we're all a bit pick and mix. It's what makes life interesting, isn't it? Tina lived in Shetland for 3 months, loved it, and the history, not been, but yes, landscape looks beautiful too. I guess, how do you celebrate then? So I do put up the altar. I do like to, you can make offerings. And that makes it interesting, because if you know what your grandparents liked or your great grandparents, you can put something out. So it might be, a shot of whiskey, or my granddad liked currant buns. So, or a cup of tea. My nan loved her cups of tea. Back generations back there, you might put tobacco in as well, because nearly everyone smoked. My family, all Christmas gatherings, you couldn't see across the room because of the cigarette and the cigar smoke. So offerings is a nice way. Flowers, always good, because but I think it's just about rocking up. Just light a candle in their memory. It's just being there. It's just remembering them. If you've got the time, you can just sit and memories. It's nice to look back through photo albums. If you have old photo albums, that works as well. It is just, I think it's that thought. It's that remembrance of those people that is important. That doesn't need to be anything grand or expensive, just remembering. Susie, real hodgepodge with some American, Indian, South African, Swedish, French, Spanish, and a bit of English, Welsh, and Scottish. Yeah, see, we are. We're all pick and mix. Lucky Fairy Queen. Work with Goddess Freya, who's a Norse goddess. Sephora. I'm finding out she's a woman of honour. Keep my word, she keeps hers, and we both honour our word. I think that it's a fascinating pantheon to work with. Fascinating. Morning, Leslie. Yeah, Susie, Freya is my go-to gal. I think lots of people do work with the Norse. Ness works with the Norse deities. It is a fascinating pantheon. David. According to Ancestry, I'm 60% Cornish Devon. That explains a lot. But a very nice ancestry to have. Very nice. Gilala. Random thought. We're good with random thoughts. All those skin cells we lose daily. I try not to think about it. Means technically part of us could already be in someone else or something else once it was broken down to elements and reused. Do you know there is a whole magical practice working with the dust and the stuff that you vacuum up, which, let's face it, is a big percentage of your dead skin cells. There is a whole thing, actually. Taron S's book on dirt magic or something like that. The name's gone out of my head. Works with dust and the contents of your vacuum bag. It's got a really, really strong magical energy to it. And the dust that you are continuously wiping off of all the surfaces in your house is dead bits of you, really. So there's a very, very strong connection there. Gross, but magical. Susie, I see myself as an ancestor too, for those to come. Actually, that is interesting too. So I went on a little jolly on Monday to meet a very, very fabulous couple of ladies who interviewed me for their podcast. It will come out in the near future. And we were talking about traditions and the do we do something because we think it's ancient, or we do a magical practice because that's what our ancestor witches did. Well, they didn't, because they wouldn't call themselves witches for a start. If we have a new tradition or a new way of working magic, doesn't make it bad. Witchcraft is fluid. Magic is fluid. So the things that we are setting in place today, the way we work today, at some point will be, this is how our ancestors used to do it. That will be us. So yes, we are the ancestors of the future. It makes your head explode a little bit, doesn't it? Emma, I'd love to do a DNA test. Our family has been in this area since the 1400s, so it'd be nice where we came from before then. My altar has skulls on it, ghost tea light holder, and other bits and bobs. I think it's all fascinating to look at. But you mentioned skulls, which is an interesting thing. I think skulls, even if they're not real ones, you know what I mean. Even if they are fancy decorative ones, that's a connection for me to the ancestors. If you want to make that connection with your ancestors, I do. I've got the fancy decorative skull, and I put that on my altar, and that is my connection, my representation of connecting with the ancestors. I think skulls work for that brilliantly. Claire, someone told me you should copyright your DNA and medical records so they can't be sold on. Put me off getting testing done. I think people are paranoid. The DNA thing was fascinating. I have medical records going back nearly 57 years. I have a driving license. I have a passport. I am a company secretary, so I had to set up the government access thing and prove who I was. It's all out there. My information's all out there. You know, if they want to do it, get on with it. My stuff's all out there anyway. David, I mean to get her book about dermatology. Yes, it is brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. I'm going to have to look it up now. I am going to look it up. Taron S. She's got one on Who in the Psalms, which is brilliant. Conjuring Dirt. That's what it's called. Taron S is Conjuring Dirt. It is fantastic. But yes, it will tell you how to work magic with dust and the contents of your vacuum cleaner. Brilliant. Jalala. Did trace my mum's maternal side back to the 14th century. Every one of them Devonian. Nice. Dad's side more spread out over the southeast. Haven't done the DNA thing yet, though. It's interesting because the DNA thing does go back, so it's usually quite surprising in my experience. The interesting thing with mine was it was last year, and we went to Germany. Just one of those random places, never been on my list to visit, but it just happened that we went on a river cruise, fabulous, and it stopped at lots of places. Germany. In actual fact, we started in Switzerland, travelled up the Rhine through Germany, and ended up in Amsterdam. Fabulous. Just randomly picked it for no apparent reason, set foot in Germany, and loved it. Absolutely loved it. Beautiful, beautiful country. Every stop we made in Germany, loved it. Really, really strong connection. It was a couple of weeks after we came back that my DNA result came back with Germany in there. So who knew? Loved it. Beautiful country. Felt such a strong connection. There you go. It was in my strands. Emily, probably biased as I'm a linguist, but if you're struggling to know what to do, you could learn to say something or to sing a song in a language your ancestors would have spoken. Yes, I think that's a big thing, actually. When we came back from Germany, I did start trying to learn German. I'm not a linguist. I find languages very difficult. But yeah, it was interesting to start delving into that. And I think that's one of the things, whether you are working with a deity or whether you're looking to ancestors from a particular place, learn about that country, learn about the language, learn about the culture, learn about the food. If you are working with Norse deities, do it. Find out what the landscape is like, find out what the country is like that they lived in, learn about the foods and the culture and the everything you can, the language about that, and it really helps you make a connection. But it also shows that you are serious about making that connection, that you are dedicated to making effort to connect because you've taken that time and energy to do your research, basically. Yeah, I think that's very important. Delilah, yes, DNA analysis is banned in France. I did know that. I don't know why I knew that, but I knew that. Delilah. Don't know if anyone has been watching The Sandman. No, I haven't. Is it creepy? It had some truly beautiful concepts about death in the underworld, especially season 2, if you haven't yet. I've heard of it, I haven't watched it. I don't know if anyone else has. Sephora, the DNA testing has caught some very naughty people, yes. Relatives tested and popped up on police databases as a partial match, and from there they were able to find and convict. There's been a lot of questions within families too, as well, I would think. But it's also done some good. I do know of people where they have discovered they thought they were an orphan and have realised they've still got living family members and have been reunited with brothers and sisters that they didn't know they had. So it does some good too. Emma, that's why I have skulls on my ancestors' altar too. It's my connection to them. Yeah, it works for me. It is a definite correspondence. Yeah, absolutely. Lucky Fairy Queen. I wonder if I have some Scottish stuff in me, because all I want to do is settle there. Hopefully buy and restore a castle. That's a dream, isn't it? That's definitely a dream. Although I wouldn't want to do the housework in a castle. I have a tiny slither of Scottish in me. Maybe that's where the Cailleach comes in. Jalala, I think most Brits have some Germanic heritage, the Saxons after all. But it would, British is a big word, isn't it? Because it covers the different countries within Britain. English, probably likely to have some Germanic somewhere along the line. But again, it depends, doesn't it? It depends how many generations. It depends how many generations you go back, and as to whether your family, where they came from and when they came here. We are all pick and mix. all pick and mix. Susie, Sandman is a beautiful series cinematically and with its ideas too. I shall look that one up. Jalala, whole area has been occupied by the Saxons, so it's a good chance that where our family came from. Could be. David, I've been thinking about working with some ancestors. We have this idea that when passed, they can always help us, but passing on doesn't suddenly make you all wise and knowledgeable. No, some still have to find out who they are, so it's good to remember ways which can help them. Yes. And I have, within my own spirit work, had to help those move on. Some of them are trapped here, so we as witches can help them move on as well. But you're right, just because they are in the spirit world doesn't mean that they are knowledgeable at all. For me, this time of the year is really about just remembering rather than connecting. But yes, we are in a good position to be able to help. It's interesting. It is interesting, and it's a good time of the year to be able to do it. Nice, Jalala. My scores are my connection to death as a psychopomp. Yes, both as a process and the concept of the entity spirit. It's a loving thing, the transition. I wonder what do we. There is this thing about skulls, isn't there? They're creepy and they're spooky, and they're in all of the shops at the moment. The plastic ones for you to put out for your Halloween decorations. They are. I mean, obviously, it's a skeleton, so to have that skull, you need a dead person. That's just how it works. But to me, it's not spooky. I mean, I've got magpie skull here somewhere behind me. That to me is honouring the bird. It's honouring the spirit of magpie. I don't look at it and go, "Ooh, a dead thing." It's my connection to magpie. And for me, skulls are the same. That is the connection to the other world. That is connection to ancestors. It is a connection to those that have passed. But I guess a bit like witches, skulls have got a bit of a bad rep. Zephora, genealogy can be quite a healing tool. Yes, helps you understand what moulded those that came before, and have helped friends discover some kindness in those that came before, even if generations above not. I think it is a really fascinating thing to do, absolutely. And I think it can help you feel more comfortable about yourself, I guess. Yes, to know your roots, to know your history, I guess. It is interesting. Susie, do crystal skulls work better at this time of the year? I don't know the answer to that exactly because I don't work with crystal skulls. Ness does. She's putting together a video about crystal skulls. I think she wrote a blog about crystal skulls as well. I think it's over on the Kitchen Witch blog. They are quite a different thing to work with rather than regular crystals. They are their own category of things. But I would imagine, yeah, their time to shine, I would think. Definitely. But yes, so let's, in the run up, remember your ancestors, put out your ancestor altars. If you don't have any photos, you don't have any connection, you don't have any history, just ancestors of the land, ancestors that lived in your house before you, ancestors that lived in your area. Perhaps visit a graveyard near you and just make an offering. As David suggested, just an offering at the gates to all of those that have passed in general. I think it is important to remember your own ancestors, but also the ancestors of the land that you live on. I think that's really, really important. But then, that's me. Oh, Eric's yawning. So I won't be here next week, as I said. We'll be back on the 31st of October. where let's have a Salwani issue, shall we? We'll have a good old Salwani chat. Do join us on Tuesday, 21st at 10 a.m. if you can, UK time. We're going to reveal our new project that we've been working on. But otherwise, do enjoy your ancestors. Do have a think about those that went before us, and just honour them. But if you have got an ancestor altar and you are happy to share a photo of it, do pop them in the Kitchen Witch Coven Facebook group. We'd love to see the photos of your ancestors' altars. I will take a picture of mine and put it up there when I've done it. Karen says, go to the graveyard every day, lots of family buried there. Do you know that? My family aren't in Hampshire. They are in Surrey generally, but most of them don't have gravestones. So that makes it a bit difficult. Yes, Eric's nose is gone now. No, you're right. So I have to honour my ancestors from here. It's all good. It's all good. So take care, everyone. Have a fabulous couple of weeks. And I will see you again, hopefully on Tuesday, the girls, for a secret reveal. Otherwise, I will see you on Samhain back here. Thanks, everyone. Take care.